segment
Friday.
of the Michael Brown Show. That
I'm
other
so
voice
happy.
you hear, over Miss Happy over there, is Lori Lynn Barker.
You know, I'm just like 4 days closer
Well, so
to Jimmy Buffett and the Eagles.
Okay. Now, that's all I hear about is you and Jimmy Buffett.
Well,
So
then next week you won't have to hear about it.
But we also have somebody who apparently is also very happy today, because they're talking to us from Reykjavik, Iceland, and
one of the top tourist destinations right now. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Now
but
you
I do
do.
know that Icelandic Air started some service
Right.
between here and Reykjavik. You can get to London
One
now
of the most Googled
cheap by going
Googled
through Iceland.
cities right now.
So welcome to Oliver Luckett.
Yep.
Oliver, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, Michael and Lori.
Hey.
Yeah, we're experiencing sunshine in Reykjavik right now. So it's bongo blíða is what they call it.
Bongo
And
bleed?
so it's basically a rolling holiday. Yeah, it's a rolling holiday that if it's sunny outside, everyone leaves work. So we have that one day right now.
Well, we have that every day in Denver, don't we?
Yeah, we have it all the
Sunny,
time.
let's
I
go.
We have it all
in
the time.
Denver.
Right.
It's the opposite.
So
We take the 15 days that you don't have sun, and we have sun.
yes.
Okay.
And so seriously, do shops shut down? People just get out? Do they make the drive around the island? What do they do?
I think there's a baby boom. I think people are outside. I mean, the swimming pools are a big cultural thing in Iceland. There are about 196 regional pools that are in every neighborhood.
All right.
There's about a pool for every 1,500 people, and so everyone's in the pool, from the president to the mayor to the plumber. So everybody's in the pool right now, or everyone's watching a soccer match down the street. So that's what I was watching, Spain, Brazil.
So so you were watching soccer. So other than taking your holiday to talk to us, you were watching soccer while everybody else is jumping in pools and enjoying the sunshine.
And
I
drinking
went
the
to the
black
pool
death.
earlier.
Okay.
And let's not
Exactly. The Brennivin.
Yes,
Brennivin.
yes.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the Black Death.
Okay. So to give a little background, you worked for a while at Walt Disney Company as the
Correct.
head of innovation.
Yes.
You're now.
I hated that title when I was there.
You needed something more
cheesy, but on a resume it sounds great now.
Yeah, but you wanted something more innovative for a title, right?
Yeah.
So you
Correct.
had.
I wanted Innovation Square.
Exactly. So you've gone from that. You've written a book called the Social Organism. But I'm always
Correct.
curious about, and we've teased this to death now. People are on this food segment are wondering, why are Brown and Lori Lynn talking to Oliver Luckett, this guy who's now sitting in Iceland? Why are we talking to you?
Yeah. So we're talking together because we have now chosen Denver and the Colorado Front Range as a place to launch a new seafood company called Niceland Seafood. And it's an interesting story, I think, about how we got to this place, which I guess we will share.
Well, yeah, because let's just start right there, because I'm always curious.
Exactly.
I always ask people, like, were you laying in bed at night and your brain froze up,
I have
or
nothing
something
else to
hit you in the
do.
head and it said, "Let's go do this." How did you get to this? point?
So, my career actually began in Denver at Quest Communications. That was
okay.
my first
The
real
old
job.
Quest. Holy cow!
I was there for
Joe
about
Naccio.
2 years. Joe Naccio. I was right there, and I had the opportunity to build what became the nation's first voice over the internet network. So I come from a kind of a deep technology background, actually, and I remember the day I moved to Denver was the day that the big blue sign was being hoisted by helicopter onto the building.
Yeah.
And so I remember waking up and seeing this queue outside of my window. Like, where am I? What have I done? And by the way, Denver, what a miraculous change it has made over the last 20 so years.
Right.
I mean, wow.
But pause for one moment, because I guess I'm a nerd, but the first VoIP system.
VoIP.
Wow. I
The
mean,
voice
VoIP
over the internet.
Right. I mean,
back then, it was all telephone switches.
Right.
And they realized that you could actually make a lower cost phone call by doing what's called tariff arbitrage. Mm-hmm. So you could actually use a computer to dial locally and then get on the internet backbone and then go back out locally. And so it was all treated as a local phone call.
Yeah.
So you never had a long distance charge. So you could it really introduced flat rate pricing.
Right.
It didn't make better phone calls.
Sure.
They were a pain in the ass.
Right, but it disrupted the business model.
Exactly. It disrupted the business model. And so I think that's not too dissimilar from what we're trying to do now in the seafood business, because they are really just networks, right? They're logistics networks, and they're networks that are timely. The internet is always about time and distance, and removing that from the equation. That's what we did with phone calls. And so if you fast forward to now, I started moving into video as the internet got thicker and bigger systems. And then I moved into Hollywood, and I represented, many different brands telling stories inside of social media. My company was acquired by Disney. I went into Disney. I learned storytelling. I got to work with some of the greats like John Lasseter and Ed Catmull at Pixar. I got to work with LucasArts in bringing back the Star Wars brand. And I got to really understand that characters, lovable characters that kind of keep you on the edge of your seat, but that have a real set of rules, that's the winning formula. That's the Pixar formula. And so I really started looking at, how that works. And then when I sold to Disney and then, as you said, became head of innovation, I got to meet really smart people across a lot of different consumer experiences, from the theme parks to the movie theaters to the even now virtual experiences with things like The Void. And so I got to see, how these stories mattered to people. And then I started another company after leaving Disney with some really fun characters, Ari Emanuel and Sean Parker. And we started a company where we focused on how do we build the stories of celebrities that were kind of digital immigrants, is what we called them. I know that's kind of a weird word right now, but digital immigrants. And then we started moving into these influencers. And, in the chef business, of course, you've got all of these celebrity chef influencers, and you understand what that means. Right. And so we built out a really robust storytelling architecture inside of Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and others. And so that actually brought me to Iceland. In 2011, one of my heroes in the music business is the singer Bjork, and she asked me to come to Iceland to meet with her. And it was the craziest, stormiest October day, walking head against the wind. My husband and I could barely make it. Like, it was really crazy. We were trying to walk across the little harbor area to Harpa, the big concert hall here. And it was a struggle, We're like, what are we doing in Iceland? And chill, this terrible gale wind, meeting Bjork. And it turns out that she and I really got along well, and there was something kind of magical about her. And so we came back that New Year's, a couple of months later, and had, New Year's in Reykjavik is one of those must-see moments in human history. It's the craziest thing ever. It's basically every single person in Iceland. They don't have a military, so their search and rescue team in the ocean is their heroes. And they buy fireworks locally, and then they set them all off, basically for 7 days after Christmas, because there are 13 Santa Clauses. There's a whole, new Christmas architecture here. And the place just lights up for 7 days. I mean, it's fireworks everywhere. It's not a centralized thing. And so we just started falling in love with Iceland. And over the last, 7-8 years, we just kept coming back and found it as a real refuge place for us to stop over when we were going to London. We had an office in London, or going to New York, and it was just very convenient. And from that moment on, I said, look, if we ever sell this company, I looked at my husband Scott. I said, if we ever sell this company, maybe we'll just try out living in Iceland.
Can you hold on? Can you hold on for one moment while we take a break?
Sure.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the Let's Eat segment of the Michael Brown Show. We have on the line with us from Reykjavik, Iceland, Oliver Luckett. And Oliver's in the middle of telling us a story about him and his husband ending up in
Iceland with
in
Bjork
Iceland.
on New Year's Eve.
Right.
Firing fireworks.
And as you said, it's kind of it became a refuge for you, and now you've decided to what?
So now, you know, when we moved here, we had this moment where our family thought we were crazy, right? We were living this great life in Hollywood and had, you know, really succeeded and had friends and family and everything. And so we take this big leap to this, you know, cold volcanic island, and it makes you think, once the excitement wears down, like, why am I here? You know, what is it that drew me to this? And so I went back to my days of building brands and said, you know, what is it about Iceland that matters? And it was this kind of 5 values of humanism, sustainability, this deep connection to nature, this hyperconnectivity among people, whether it's the swimming pools or the fastest internet in the Western world, and then this kind of hitting over your weight arts and creative community, people like Bjork and the Monsters and Men and Kaleo and all these kind of amazing bands, Sigur Rós, that come out of Iceland. It's a tiny population, and now the World Cup soccer team. Now, what is going on here that's so interesting? And so if you look at the history of Iceland, it's a fishing town, right? Reykjavik is a fishing community. It's a nation of fishermen. And so, you know, I said, well, you know, what am I going to do now? I wrote The Social Organism. I went on a book tour. We kind of settled in. We got married, you know, all of these things. And so I looked up and I said, well, what could I bring to Iceland that, you know, really matters? And I looked at the seafood industry, because you would go to a restaurant and you would have the freshest fish, and they really pride themselves on it, and there's a whole culture around it, you know, everything from holidays to, you know, they're part of the ocean. And so I started looking at some of the interesting systems that they had put in place, because I'm kind of a geek in that respect. And I learned that, you know, in the late 60s, early 70s, they started this quota system. And they started basically using, you know, data systems to measure the different fishing stocks and to control them and to really control the fishermen. And so they were really the first nation to implement sustainable fishing systems. So that was one interesting point. The second interesting point was that they had increased their stocks over time. All we hear about the ocean, which is rightfully so, is a lot of despair. And so here's a group of people that have focused on sustainability, that have fought their only war in history. They don't even have a military. The fishermen fought the Cod Wars to basically protect their waters. So they had the waters were 10 miles, then 50 miles, now 200 miles around Iceland. And so here was the people that had protected their livelihood, they protected their community, they protected their economics, and they protected their nature. And that's the very definition of sustainability, right?
And was this, let me interrupt for just a second. Was this some sort of, I know this is probably a very loose analogy, but was it like crop rotation? Did they move both geographically and species in terms of what they could harvest?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So they have scientists that look at the catch. They look at the difference. There are, you know, multiple fishing regions that are, you know, prescribed to the system. It's very localized into the fishing region, into the species, into the stock, into the capacity. It's also a dynamic system. So it's not, you know, scheduled 5 years out. It's scheduled almost in real time. And then also they have data systems to really enforce it. So here was this data system called Fiskistofa. And I was like, wow, why has no one told this story, right? Why has no one used this data? You know, I used to sit with celebrities and say, you know, you reach 12 million people and you've got this data and these are your demographics and psychographics. And, you know, so I knew how to kind of tell stories with data. And I'm like, why are we not telling this story? Then I looked at the brand of Iceland. As you mentioned, there's a tourism boom. When I first started coming here, there were fewer than 500,000 visitors here. There'll be 3 million this year. And mainly they're North American millennial tourists who have discovered Iceland on Instagram. If you look at hashtag Iceland on Instagram, there are 8 million hashtags now and growing.
Let me ask you a question
That's
about that.
a lot of hashtags.
Is that influx of visitors sustainable?
So that's that's another discussion. But
Okay.
Having been at Disney and worked in theme parks, yes and no, right? If everybody does the same beaten path of
Right.
the Golden Circle, the Blue Lagoon,
Right.
the airport,
Right.
then no, it's overcrowded and tourist. Iceland is a sparsely populated place with some of the most beautiful nature in the world. And so from that sustainability, Bjork and Andre Sneyer, an author here, and I worked very diligently on creating what will be Europe's largest national park, for instance. They're called the Homeland. So yes, that's a totally different conversation, but there are people like myself that love this place so much because of its set of values and because it's a humanistic culture at its very roots. It's the highest peace index, most equal, no military, reform versus prison. It's all the Scandinavian values kind of brought into a creative place. But it's a fishing community, and the biggest industry before this tourism boom was fishing. It's about a third of the GDP, and so these are people that have sustainability in their roots. It's the only country. It's 100% geothermal and hydroelectric energy, right? Not one industry, not one home here burns fossil fuels. So you get off the plane, and the air. I mean, it's just like it is a magical place. And so, I saw an opportunity, because the second big thing is you've never really seen Iceland at the seafood counter. That's because in an island, you don't really have the concept of storytelling or marketing or things like that around products. You definitely have it around people, the sagas and all those things. But this is a scarcity-driven society here, right? And so the availability of a product is really its marketing. And when you come to America, it's, kind of the opposite. It's the land of the plenty and, so many different influences. And so I said, look, why is the only thing I'm seeing at a grocery store, Siggy's Skier, which is a phenomenal protein-based product, which has now unfortunately been called Siggy's Yogurt because it was bought by a yogurt company. But you also have Icelandic glacial water. That is our water here. Like, that is literally the water system of Iceland. It comes off the glacier, and we have kind of the cleanest, best water in the world. And if you've never tried that water, it's amazing. It's a high pH. It's a really interesting, sustainable water source. And so we saw this opportunity, and then with this technology and with this traceability, I was like, well, why don't we package those things into a brand? I really don't know much about seafood except for the fact that I'm, was a biologist in college and, love nature and love, preserving it and respecting it and curious about it. And so we really dug deep in, and I met this woman here named Heva Helgadottir. I'd seen a movie about her called Nar. It's about young Nar and his run for mayor. He was a comedian mayor. And he won in a landslide election because he created the first social media political party. And so I was fascinated by that.
Oliver, can you hold on for one more segment?
Sure.
Okay, hang on. We'll take a quick break. We're talking to Oliver Luckett. We're going to talk about fresh seafood from Iceland. Niceland seafood next.
It's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make romance neath the cover of October skies.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the Michael Brown Show. It's the Let's Eat segment. We're talking to Oliver Luckett, who is talking to us from Reykjavik, Iceland.
Can I throw in a fun fact?
You may. Fact?
They eat puffins in Iceland.
The cute little puffins?
Yeah, but they have the little what is it? The Lunderhund? It's an AKC
Yeah.
Is it Lunderhund?
Well, the Lunderhund is the hunt, I believe.
Okay.
Lundi is the bird.
Oh, but there's also a dog up there that can turn. It was raised to go up.
The Hunderin.
Yeah.
Lundi Hunderin.
Yeah, to actually hunt the puffins, and they can turn their head all the way around, and they can lay the top of their head on the back, and they can spread their arms, because most dogs can't spread their front legs like that, like I'm showing you, like people can see on the radio. So, little fun fact about Iceland.
Christmas, all right.
Yeah, the puffins are quite an attraction. But you don't like the puffin when you go hiking and you fall in their holes. And then you're like, these things are.
See, there's always the yin and the yang. There's always the.
And what do they taste like?
Exactly.
What do they taste like, Oliver?
They're very similar to a duck. No,
Oh,
they're a
okay.
little bit more gamey. They're very similar to a duck.
Okay, so all right. So let's hang on. Stop at the puffin because I want to get to Niceland seafood.
You too.
So through all of this great story, you've decided that you're bringing a company called Niceland Seafood to Denver.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Okay. So explain to me
why. Exactly.
Yeah. Why?
Why Denver?
Why? And quite honestly,
at the opening.
Yeah. So why? And what am I going to get? How about that? Just to be a good old American capitalist, what am I going to get for this?
Yep. So here's the next story. The next story is that because of the tourism, we now have all of these direct flights, right? And it's not that far. It's a 6.5-hour flight, right, direct from Denver.
Right.
And Denver has a lot of the shared values that Iceland has, right? A connection to nature. It's a much more humanistic place. It's all of these different elements, right? And it values sustainability. It's got millennial population that's moving. All these different things. So Denver was really became an obvious choice as well because of a company called Seattle Fish.
Sure.
That are leaders in the world in this concept of sustainability, and that aren't just using it as a gimmick, but that are really, putting their processes and logistics and money and investment where their mouth is, right? And so all of these things kind of serendipitously fell together. And then I'm sitting with one of my friends, Jon Skafti from Iceland Air, and he's talking about the utilization of the passenger planes. And I'm like, whoa, can you give me that data? And so then I looked at that data and I was like, okay, wow, here we go. This is a full story. I can now catch a fish at 4 a.m. I can go into the processing facility. I can have it on a plane to Denver by 4 o'clock that afternoon, and I can have it in a grocery store 24 hours later. That's impressive.
That's
because
fresh.
of these flight routes and people in a landlocked area have never really had fresh seafood.
Exactly.
I
I always get a kick out of the term fresh in Denver because, to your point, I want to know, okay, what is that, like 4 days ago, 3 days ago? What does that really mean?
No, exactly. I mean, it could be up to 10, 15 days ago. And you could be looking at a product that was actually frozen and then de-thawed and called fresh. I mean, I don't want to go into the negatives, but I have discovered a lot of cases of fraud, species fraud, temperature control fraud. I mean, you name it, right? And so I'm like, look, if we have this resource that has been valued for centuries by this community of people that have also become the most peaceful people in the world, right? And that have this, system and set of values that people are really resonating with by traveling here and social media and all of those things, then let's put all of that together and build a company that is part technology and logistics, that is part storytelling and showing about what sustainable means both economically, community, and nature. And let's get the best product in the world to consumers in the fastest, most transparent way possible. And that's what we've done. And it's been a tremendous amount of hard work. It's been a tremendous amount of cultural change on the Icelandic side. It's been a tremendous amount of logistics on the U.S. side. Everything from customs to all the things that exist that are behind the scenes.
Sure.
And so I'm kind of leveraging my technology background. Heckuva, who I mentioned, was an Icelandic, the youngest female parliamentarian in Iceland. So she understands fundamentally this culture and understands the logistics in business and how to get the product. Because this is still a telephone business here. This is, hey, my buddy's got a boat and I got 600 pounds of cod and let's hook it up. I mean, really, it's still a community-driven business where people have built relationships over their lives, and so we want to preserve that, but we want to provide them with tools that allow us to track that product from the minute it is caught on a boat, from a temperature standpoint, from a logistics standpoint, all the way to the restaurant, to the grocery store in Denver, Colorado.
So let me
That's what we built.
Let me pretend that you're presenting to me at some venture capitalist forum, presentation, and I'm sitting in the audience because I got a bazillion questions for you now. And the first question that I think of, okay, so you gave me this great story about sustainability, how they do what in my terms the crop rotation kind of concept of handling the fishing. So then I guess my question as an investor would then be, so how do you guarantee me as an investor in the company that I'm going to be able to get the product, the actual fresh fish on a consistent basis if I happen to own, Whole Foods or King Soopers or whatever the chain might be or the store might be? How do I get, what's my guarantee I get that product, and what kind of variety of product do I get?
You know what? That is the big question. So I'll give you the answer. So we offer about 6 species of fish. Cod,
6 0
is
Did you say 6 0?
No, 6.
Oh, 6. Okay.
No, not 60.
Okay, because I was like, holy cow, 60. Okay, 6. I can deal with 6.
No.
Yeah.
So of course, Iceland is famous for cod, right? It's line cod.
Icelandic
it's
cod.
Incredible cod. Yeah, and so I actually did not like cod because it was always that kind of weird fish that was white fish that was kind of at the seafood counter maybe, and now I love it. I think it's the best, because it's a different product when it's fresh, and it's not mealy, and it's like it's a very different product. And so it's cod fillets and cod loin that are caught, that day, that are processed and then shipped over. And so the cod supply here has actually increased over the last 10 years. So there is pretty consistent, I'm not saying pretty, there is consistent supply of cod. It is seasonal in mating season. They stop, catching it for a bit, but they rotate it, as you said. And so cod has been a pretty consistent species that we can guarantee kind of year-round availability.
All right.
Then there are species.
Hang on, there's one last break. Can you hold on for one more segment and finish the story?
Sure.
Excellent. Talking to Oliver Luckett, Niceland Seafood, coming up next. Lori Lynn. Hey, welcome back to the Let's Eat segment of the Michael Brown Show. We've been talking to Oliver Luckett.
You just don't want to hear me sing.
Who is bringing to Denver a company called Niceland Seafood. So, Oliver, we got a short segment here. So tell us in the next few minutes about Niceland Seafood, the products, and when and where we will be able to get it.
Sure. So the products are first and foremost cod, which is line caught that morning, wild caught, brought in, and then Arctic char, which is actually a farmed product, but it's farmed inland in glacial lava ponds that are geothermally heated. So it's about the most sustainable fish in the world you could buy and have, and it's delicious. In my mind, it's kind of the breakout species for North America, period, because I don't think a lot of people have experienced Arctic char. It's a salmonoid, but it is akin to a trout as well. So it's a really lovely fish. Then you have things like monkfish, wolffish, plaice, redfish, which is also called perch, and haddock and halibut, and of course herring, which is pickled in different ways, and really prepared that way, kind of Icelandic style. But the magic of all of this is that when the iPhone OS 11 came out, every iPhone camera now is a QR code reader. Right. You literally just open the camera and point it at the seafood counter, to the little QR code there on the seafood counter, and it tells you the life story of that fish that you're looking at.
That is amazing.
That's the magic of this. That's kind of my Disney magic, if you will, of this whole experience, is that you can point any iPhone with a camera to that QR code. It slides down a little browser button. You click it, and then suddenly you can tell the entire fishing region, the boat, the species, the packaging, the Iceland airplane it came in on, the whole story, all the way to the grocery store. And so we partnered with Seattle Fish to make it available widely in the Denver Front Range area. And so we launched our first store in Aspen at Food and Wine at the city market there. And it was, I've never seen a line for seafood. There was literally, I guess, because of the media attention and because of the kind of story about it and because, just I think the uniqueness of the product around a bunch of people that respect food and respect these kind of sustainable values, there was a line at the counter. And it was exceptional. And so that was really, we came back home. We were so excited because we've been cooking this up, for the last year or two. And that was the real moment for us that sealed it, that really said, like, wow, I think we've created something so unique. We found the best product in the world. We're respecting it. And we're now telling a transparent story to a consumer about something that is as precious as live caught seafood. So that's the whole idea here, and that's really what chefs and what home cooks and all these people do with it. Of course, is their creativity.
Sure.
We have a restaurant here called Messin where we brought the chefs over, and they we're kind of teaching people how to cook Arctic char with almond and honey, and how simple it can be to just salt and pepper cod and cook it in a nice skillet, and really enjoy it because this is the freshest fish I think you can get unless you caught it yourself.
So selfishly,
and we're really sticking by that story.
And so I have to ask selfishly, when and where can I get this?
Exactly, that's what I was going to ask.
Right.
We need
sure
to know.
That we can make it available to you. Yeah. So right now we've been trialing it. As I said, Seattle Fish is our partner. They cover all of the King Superstores, the city markets, also a lot of restaurants. And so as we become available, I think you will know, we will have a lot of social media presence, we'll have a lot of local marketing. And so to be honest, we right now are doing that rollout plan as we speak.
Sounds great.
Actually, I'm missing a conference call.
Oliver, and that's fine. That's perfect timing for us because we need to go too. Oliver, thanks for your time.
Awesome.
Can't wait to try it.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Sing it, Kate.
The mountain, through the